Hi there, exciting stuff today. Nikon is going to announce the Nikon Zfc in the next 12 hours or so. So now let me break the ZFC launch into three components, and I think all of these three components have interesting implications. First, what is it? What does it have? Secondly, who is it for? The key is the target market, in fact. Let me tell you already that it's a clever stroke by Nikon. The third question is, what does it all mean for Nikon and the market? In the second part of the video, I will tell you why I think this is a branching off of the Z mount into a completely new line of cameras. Now let's begin with the first question. What is it and what does it have? It will most likely follow the Z50 very closely. That means a 21 megapixel cropped sensor, probably no IBIS, single SD card slot, the same 2.3 million dots OLED viewfinder, and 1/4000th of a second maximum shutter speed with perhaps 11 frames continuous shooting speed. But I am not very sure about the last spec. Given the kind of camera it is, I will not be surprised at all if the highest shooting speed of this camera is actually less than 11 FPS. If it has the same internals as the Z50, then it will have the same 209 point autofocus system, but I expect the ZFC to have a much improved autofocus system and perhaps a new autofocus layout and implementation. Because I'll tell you the reason, because I do not see a front function button in the new leaked images. You can see the images here. I don't see a front function button because that front function button is very important for the Z cameras because you assign tracking autofocus to it. Now in the absence of it, I expect perhaps an easier autofocus system where you have the tracking box always on. In the absence of that function button, I expect some other way to make the tracking easier in this camera. So I expect perhaps an always on tracking box like you have in Fuji or in the Sony cameras. So if Nikon does that, that's going to be a very interesting stuff, and it will give us a bit more information about what's to happen and how the AF system is evolving as you progress towards the launch of the Z9 and perhaps the third generation of Z series of cameras. I don't know if that little dot is actually a button. I don't think it is. The big news is that it is going to have a flip screen, and that is a big news. A lot of people have been looking forward to a flip screen Nikon camera for a long time. It will have all the physical controls mounted on top, as you can see here, with two dials at the rear and at the front. I can also see a dedicated video record button there. I expect the dials to be clickable and customizable, just like in the Fuji XT series of cameras. There's no screw mount on the shutter button, and I quite like that because when you have the screw mount there, it kind of looks a bit naked. This one feels far more integrated. Looks like there are 7 colors all in all, so that's a lot of scope for fun and personality. It's going to be launched also at a very fun price at a less than or within $1,000 with a kit lens, and apparently there's going to be 2 kit options. The first kit lens is going to be the 16 to 50 mm SL lens. Now what does SL mean? I think, can it mean super light? Probably. The second kit option is going to come with a 28 mm special edition kit. I don't know what is so special about this special edition. I'm personally very excited, honestly, about the black and silver models, and also I'm looking forward to just seeing how the brown colored variant looks. Now, I expect Nikon to really up the video game here, and let me tell you why. If you look at the possible target audience, you'll understand why. With a small and light body with those funky colors, the flip screen, the ZFC is clearly trying to target 2 very important customer segments. The first one is an obvious one: people who love the aesthetics of retro style Nikon camera. These are the guys who know and love the brand Nikon, already invested in the system perhaps. They may have already tried Fuji, but there is a very high chance that they actually like the Nikon colors and the files, and they would love to have something like this for their personal photography and for travel. Looking at Fuji's market share, I expect this segment to range between 5% to 7%. A bit more optimistic, but I think when Fuji has about 4% market share, it is obviously not being able to capture the entire market share. I'm sort of adding 2 to 3% to that potential market, right? So now this can be a significant market share for Nikon. Even if Nikon gets 2-3% market share out of this model, I think that's going to be significant for Nikon. The second target audience I think is more important. I think it is going to be the young Gen Zs. Z cameras for the generation Z. So appropriate. These are people who have reached the limits of their smartphone cameras, have found that they have a knack for photography and for content creation. The flip screen makes this camera very useful to them from a utility point of view. The design gives them a bragging rights to flaunt it, and flaunt an aspect of Nikon that no one can try and ignore really. The glorious film days, the memory of that. And the colors, the weight, the size, all of this makes this camera potentially a part of their lifestyle. It can become a tech fashion item for the 20-year-olds and to add some extra to their lives. Now that's all very good and fun, and to me personally very, very exciting. But it begs a question: what does it all mean for Nikon? And what does it mean for the market? Like I said before, I seriously think that this is a branching off of the Z mount into a completely new line of cameras. The success of this camera will lead Nikon perhaps to making full frame versions of this camera, but not much bigger. And I know how many of you will love that. I love that idea. I hope that Nikon comes out with a full frame version of this camera within the next 6 months. Very wishful thinking. The fact that there are lenses specific to this body already means that there might be a series of compact lenses keeping the FC line in mind. I absolutely do not think that Viltrox's announcement of the crop sensor lenses for the Z mount is a fluke or it's a coincidence. I think Nikon and Viltrox are probably working together on this, and Nikon must understand that they may not be able to do all the work, and they may be willing to open up the crop sensor mount at least to more third-party brands. This is a concrete step by Nikon to not depend solely on its legacy market. I remember Matt Irwin talked about Nikon's legacy market, and I understand that market is important and critical, but unless new people come into the brand and come in early in their lives, the Z mount will not mean much 5 to 7 years from now, unless the younger lot gets excited about these camera gears and experiences what this tech can actually offer them in terms of their self-expression and creativity, and perhaps more importantly, simply for pleasure. Nikon will increasingly, and more brands will increasingly lose relevance. And you know what? There is nothing to tech if it isn't cool. And I think Nikon knows that very well. I think all of these brands know that very well. Nikon is the only brand, however, taking a step like this among the top 3. Sony took half a step, I think, in my view, with the expensive A7C, because given the kind of camera it is, given what it offers, I think A7C is actually expensive. And I think that this is therefore a big opportunity for brand Nikon to do something that works well, not only for itself, but for the entire market. Because of course, some 19-year-old will perhaps get introduced to the Z mount, but she may like Canon 2 years down the road, and she may like Sony, but at least she will buy a camera and her life will change a little bit. See you very soon. Thank you.